Hi everyone, it's Leanne here from NCBI. In this parent resource, I'm going to talk to you about the key points in developing the skills to use a knife. Meal times are an important aspect of family life. Children can begin to develop self-eating skills from birth. Self-eating is a very complex task, and it is common for children to have difficulty using cutlery to feed themselves. In a child with low or no vision, this task can be particularly complex as the visual stimuli that triggers motivation to reach, grasp, and mimic movements is reduced. So here we'll focus on developing knife grasp and use. Usually between the age of 5 and 7, a child is learning to spread and cut with a knife. At this stage, a child will be developing fine motor skills through play. These skills build the foundations required for the development of independent living skills, including the use of cutlery. One of the most important things to consider before starting any activity requiring fine motor coordination is the seating position. If the child is not well seated, their trunk control and balance may be affected, which will impact on the function of the arm, wrist, and fingers. Ensure your child sits with his or her feet in contact with the floor, or use a footrest and encourage his or her hips and knees to be at a 90-degree angle. This will ensure a good base of support. Make sure your child is sitting with his or her bottom all the way back on the chair and the chair is tucked in all the way under the table. The table height should be at elbow level so the forearms rest comfortably on the surface. When setting up for practice, ensure only the items required are laid out in an organised way to aid learning. Allow your child to explore the butter knife, explaining the purpose of each section, including the handle, the position of the top of the knife, and the blade. Encouraging the correct grasp right from the start is really important. Your child's index finger should point down the back of the knife. It is usually easiest to use a knife in the dominant hand, but allow your child to experiment and find out what works best for them. The preferred or dominant hand holds the knife in a thumb down grasp. The pointer or index finger is straight along the side of the knife handle, with the sharp side of the knife pointing down. The thumb and middle finger pinch together to hold the knife. The helper or non-dominant hand holds the item being cut. Again, it's important to remember, have only the items required laid out in an organised way. Your child could practice on either a plate or a chopping board with a non-slip mat underneath. This avoids sliding or movement of the surface. Ensure there is contrast in colour between the surface and the item being cut, whether that's Play-Doh or a slice of bread. A really nice way to introduce the concept and skill of cutting is to use Theraputty or Play-Doh. If you don't have either of these, refer to our resource on homemade Play-Doh, which is also a great exercise for hand strength and fine motor. Roll the Play-Doh into a sausage-like shape, add ridges along its surface. Encourage your child to then cut along these ridges, using their non-dominant hand to guide. Where further instruction is required, you could allow your child to place their hand over yours as you cut. This allows your child to mimic this action. So spreading is another knife skill and it can take a lot of practice. We'll use the example here of using a knife to spread butter on a slice of bread. So again, identifying the part of the knife that's used for spreading, which is the blade. Encourage your child to explore with their fingertips the surface of the spread with their non-dominant hand, while the dominant hand maintains grip of the knife. Ensure the blade is positioned at 90 degrees to the bread. Use the knife to go into the corner of the pot until butter can be found on the blade, and this can be checked using the non-dominant hand. Ensure the index finger is pointing down the back of the knife, giving stability. Place the knife down the bread and push across. Use the non-dominant hand to keep the bread in position and rotate the bread to continue spreading to all corners. If you notice there are some difficulties with grasping the handle of the knife, there are a couple of solutions that you can trial. We know that thicker or chunkier handled cutlery is often easier to hold. You can create your own by cutting foam wire insulation and fitting it around the knife handle. If you don't have access to something like this, you can also simply use pencil grips and put these around the handle of the knife. Here are some activities that promote the development of motor skills required to carry out activities of daily living independently. If you would like further fine motor resources, you can contact your NCBI worker. If you would like further advice on how you can help your child develop their grasp and use of a knife, you can contact our team on 1850 33 43 53. Thanks very much for listening.